Last night on Raw, Chad Gable apologized. And honestly, that wasn't the most important part. The most important part happened later, when Chad Gable was holding Rey Mysterio's mask in his hands. Because for the first time in this entire story, Chad Gable showed us he finally understood what a lucha mask actually meant. Welcome to Pro Wrestling Quickie. I'm Tristen Law, semi-retired pro wrestler and your host. You don't have much time, and neither do I. So let's have a quickie. Chad Gable is making his rounds apologizing to the masked lucha wrestlers he did wrong. And last night, he did the same for both Penta and Rey Mysterio. Rey accepted the apology regarding lucha libre, but made it clear Chad still has more work to do. Later in the night, after Penta defeated Rey Mysterio, Rusev and Ethan Page attacked him. During the attack, Rusev ripped Rey's mask off. Chad Gable ran out to make the save, then something interesting happened. Chad Gable picked up Rey Mysterio's mask. He looked at it, and then he handed it back. Most people are going to look at this story and call it a redemption arc. I think it might just be a little bit something more than that. This story is also a little bit about ignorance. When Chad Gable first put on the El Grande Americano mask, the entire gimmick was built around mockery. The mask wasn't sacred to him. The traditions weren't important to him. Lucha Libre wasn't something he respected. It was something he thought that he could parody. Something he thought he understood. The problem was, he didn't understand it at all. And this is where the story gets interesting, because Chad didn't change overnight. Chad had to walk through the forest. He had to live this character. He had to experience the culture he was mocking. And somewhere along the way, the joke stopped being a joke. The same guy who once treated the mask like a costume started fighting to protect it. The same guy who mocked Lucha Libre started defending it. The same guy who thought he knew everything became the student. That's why the moment with Rey's mask mattered. Not because Chad apologized early in the night. Anybody can apologize. What mattered was the choice. Nobody told Chad to pick up that mask. Nobody forced him to even hand it back. There was no championship on the line. There was no reward attached to it. He did it because he finally understood why it mattered. This is working. And it's working because WWE isn't rushing it. One thing some wrestling fans do all the time is they try to skip to the ending. Now that Chad is connecting with audiences, people are already talking about him becoming the WWE champion. Maybe that day comes. Maybe it doesn't. But if Chad wins a world title tomorrow, my question to you is, then what? The championship here isn't the story. The story is Chad Gable finally becoming a complete character. For years, his biggest compliment was being compared to Kurt Angle. Every conversation started with Kurt Angle. Every compliment started with Kurt Angle. Now people are talking about Chad Gable. Not because he's the next somebody, because he's Chad Gable. That's a bigger victory than any championship. And the best part, the story isn't even over. Even Rey told him that. The apology was accepted. The redemption wasn't. Not yet. When Chad Gable first put on that mask, he wore it out of ignorance. Last night, he handed back Rey Mysterio his mask out of respect. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'm Tristen, and this is your Pro Wrestling Quickie.